Hey Mike, how's it going? Good morning.
Good, Mike. It's always good to see your face. You're looking quite dapper today. I
Despite popular understanding, it gets pretty chilly in Phoenix
Okay.
this time of year. So, yes, I've got to bundle up.
Yeah, you're looking good. I feel a bit underdressed, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and just let it roll.
Well,
Uh,
that's okay. Let's let it roll. So, just want to talk today a little bit about lead times, what customers can do about it, because we're hearing it every day, right? Lead times are an issue. They're holding things back. What can PivIT do to help you? So, let's just start with who are you? What's your role at PivIT Global?
yeah, so I'm one of the founders and managing partners here at PivIT. I've been in this IT landscape and model for 20 plus years. I think it was first job out of college all the way through to whatever, 45, 46 years old.
Likewise.
So yeah,
First job out of college. Yeah.
I think it's been 22 years, 23 years, something like that. And so it's been a fun ride, and definitely wild times right now related to lead times, chip shortage issues, and definitely front and center of everyone's mind as folks are trying to navigate kind of all things related to chip shortage and long lead times.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you have and like I have, we've been in this business a long time. We've seen typical lead times, 6 weeks, 8 weeks on certain things for various reasons, but it's a lot worse now. Certainly COVID has something to do with that, but you've been in the thick of this, the last 2 years. How have lead times changed due to COVID and now the supply chain?
Yeah, I think like you touched on, it was pretty standard to see a 21-day lead time, and whenever Cisco is quoting lead times, those are always in business days. So 21
Right.
days, you're looking at roughly 2 months, or actually, I'm sorry, about 4 to 6 weeks as far as delivery of equipment. And that was pretty typical for, I would say, the last 10, 15 years. But we've started to see that, tick up. And now for almost, I would say most everything is at least 90 days. And then even certain items that are 180 plus business days. And again, you're looking at when you start to do the math there, you're looking at 8, 9 month lead times. And so, as far as all of the reasoning behind the chip shortage, I think there's a lot of smarter people, and I think it's probably not just one thing that happened in the space. But when you start to look at COVID shifting, remote workers and a spike for laptops, you start to deal with certain issues related to the ports and the import of products. We're seeing this. My wife and I are in the middle of a remodel, and we're seeing this for different components related to whether it's a refrigerator or a stove,
Same.
or yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's not just isolated to IT by any means. And so but it is definitely spilling over into the IT landscape, and helping clients kind of navigate and come up with options uh, to be able to get projects done in a timely fashion, kind of get offices opened, and just again try to provide options that maybe your standard CDW type of VAR wouldn't be able to offer.
Right.
Is
Right.
really, yeah.
And this is, it's not just affecting lead times, but because of the, demand and the shortage, I think we're seeing list prices go up on new hardware. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year alone, we've probably seen two, maybe three list price increases. That's regardless of whether you're talking about Arista or Juniper or Cisco. I believe Cisco's most recent list price uptick was about 7%. And I want to say that was in the last like 30 or 60 days. So a lot of these manufacturers kind of behind the scenes in conjunction are, ticking up those list prices, and they're not necessarily waving that out there in front of clients but you turn around and an AP that costs, $1,600, a while back is now all of a sudden $1,950 for that same, access point. So you're looking at a whatever 20% increase in price that's just subtly happened over the last 12 to 18 months. And
Right.
so I think you're looking at a chip shortage issue and a lead time issue, but you're also that combined with some upticks in the list price that are happening behind the scenes. It's a little bit of a double hit.
Yeah, and when you've got something like this, when it's cascaded through from the producers in China down to the supply chain and the ports and the truckers, I mean, there really is no end in sight when you're talking 9 months. I mean, that just means 9 months plus, right? Because that could change at any time. We've seen that happen where customers have said, "Hey, I've been waiting 6, and now I just got told it's 9. Pretty soon it might be a year." So I think from our end, we're thinking, "Hey, this is at least gonna go throughout 2022, maybe 2023. We just don't know." So you got to put a strategy in place, right, to deal with these lead times, to deal with the increase in price. And that's really where PivIT comes in, right?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, our business model has always been about providing clients with options. And by being able to provide our clients with options that are maybe outside of the normal standard cookie cutter IT VAR model, we're able to help them, empower them, think creatively, free them up from some of the lock-ins of these OEMs, some of the things that are hindering their ability to get projects done on certain timelines. We just, to your point, we just had a client recently who came to us and said, we have promised that this equipment would be available, and by I think it was October 15th. October 15th came, the date got pushed back another 30, 45 days, and now all of a sudden they're sitting in a really bad place because they don't have options. And for us, we were able to, within a matter of days, get equipment turned around and product in place to one of their offices in Southern California, able to help them get that office up and online. And again, but just to your point, coming up with that strategy and saying, hey, where can I leverage PivIT here to help me, mitigate some of these lead time issues? Maybe cost savings is a huge factor for you related to, seeing the list prices go up. Maybe you look at a I had a customer the other day said, hey, I need 1,100 of these brand new access points. Well, the fact is that they're just not available right now. But we were able to kind of creatively say, hey, we've got this, APs that are one generation back. You've got them widely deployed. And he was able to take hundreds of those in the meantime to just kind of create that bridge and that breathing room to really upgrade some of those critical spots where he had older, 3502s and 3602s. And we were able to get them up into, 2802s and 3802s. Now, are they the new C9100 APs? No, but they're still, significantly better, faster, significantly less cost compared to the C9100 APs, and also a big advancement in technology compared to those older 3502s that were going to be legacy, especially given some of his new controller requirements that he had. So that's just one example or a couple examples of kind of how do we creatively come up with solutions that allow folks to upgrade, kind of bridge some of these, times and some of these lead time issues. So, again, trying to be creative.
Yeah, and really, so it's the traditional refurb, it's the generation back equipment that you can no longer buy from the OEM, but that PivIT has available. It's the overstock that we have access to because of the relationships we've built with suppliers and frankly direct with OEMs over 20 years of doing this. But it's also the maintenance strategy, right? On the other side, right? Let's say you have a hardware refresh coming up and it's planned for new gear, but that gear is a year away. Meanwhile, your end of life on your OEM support contract. So how does third-party maintenance and one call fit into extending that infrastructure out until you can get to that next refresh?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, when we go back to this idea of empowerment, a lot of our clients just really, really don't like this idea of, this forced refresh cycle. Basically, the OEM every 3, 4, 5 years is saying, hey, thanks, you've put your entire, let's say, switching infrastructure in place. Now we've end of sale that product and you are forced into this upgrade path. And in many cases, like is currently happening, that upgrade path is actually tied to, exorbitant lead times. Well, what happens if your depreciation schedule isn't 3, 4, 5 years, or you need to extend the life of that infrastructure 5, 7 years? Maybe you're a school district and you actually need to have it there in place for 10 years. Well, that's where our one call, maintenance offering can basically say, hey, if you need a guaranteed next business day or 4-hour SLA for hardware replacement, we can do that. We can literally do that for pennies on the dollar compared to SmartNet, compared to JCare, some of these other OEM support model. And we can help you look at that asset list and decide kind of a hybrid strategy to get the best of both, maybe with certain devices under OEM coverage and then other devices under our one call, kind of helping clients lower those yearly maintenance and OpEx costs. But more importantly, now they can refresh their network on their terms, not on the OEM's terms. And so again, just providing that option entitles our clients to a level of power and authority that they're no longer being told when to upgrade their network. They're upgrading their network on their terms.
Right, right. I love that. Well, Mike, that's all the time we have for today, but really appreciate you coming on and giving your insight. I mean, you've got over 20 plus years in this business. I think you've probably seen it all, and we're in some unprecedented times. And I know these times are certainly bringing new clients to PivIT. So really appreciate you joining me today, and
Yeah,
hopefully.
there's one last thing that I would say is whatever the dynamics are, reach out to us because, we're a large organization in the sense that we stock over $100 million in inventory from a MSRP or list price standpoint, but we're also nimble enough to be able to work with clients, whether that's hey, we're going to need a 6-month rental term to try to bridge this gap between when where we are now versus when the product's going to be delivered. We can do a lot of creative things. Let's, like we talked about, does that mean, hey, one generation back for the short term, or even to kind of help bridge that? Reach out to your team here at PivIT, your rep at PivIT, and we can definitely help come up with a strategy, creatively come up with options to, like I said, help mitigate some of these just wild times. Nothing like I've ever seen in the last 20 years. And
Seriously.
and I'm really glad to be on this side of the fence and be able to provide options, because I'm not sure what it would be like to have to be most and just be beholden to what some of these lead time strangleholds look like, and that's got to be really hard to deal with as a client, as other resellers, and so in any way that we can.
Awesome. All right, Mike. Well, thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.